Welcome to Fireteam Chat, IGN's Destiny show. Thank you so much for joining us. Joining me in the studio is Brian Malkowitz.
You always go there first.
No,
right? Or you can't
I'm
do that.
messing with
Switching
you.
it up.
I'm allowed to
C-team.
switch it up.
I was waiting.
Travis Northup.
McClunky.
And I'm your host, Destin Legary. Not a lot of news this week. Just kidding. Trials is back. We're going to talk about Trials.
I'm stoked.
We're going to talk about Director's Cut 2020. And at the head of the show, CJ Gibson texting me saying he wanted me to share this tweet with you all.
Oh, wow.
He misses the show. He misses you guys. Just seeing this image below is wild and incredible. He has a typo.
What's
No.
the
Let me read it.
hold on,
Just seeing the image below in the wild is incredible. Trials holds such a special place in my life, and I'm sure it does for many of you. Can't wait for March 13th. Fist bump. Hashtag Trials of Osiris. Hashtag Trials is back. Thank you
You're
so much.
damn right, CJ. I'm with you.
Thank you
I'm
for
stoked.
sharing. Now let's talk about why he's wrong. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
Anyway.
he's
No, no,
right.
no, no, no,
He's
no.
right.
Not
Trials
really.
matter so
Hey,
much.
Okay,
the only
okay.
thing they got. Anyway, we'll get into
Yeah.
it. We'll get into it.
Let's open with the Trials topic. We'll
Yes.
talk about the Director's Cut 2020 later because there is some contentious stuff there. So Trials is coming back. Flawless is next season's title, apparently. D1 Trials armor is returning, and it looks glorious. It does seem to have some sort of glowing element for going flawless. 3 maps returning are Cauldron, Exodus Blue, and Anomaly in Old Russia. And if I check my Twitter, I actually tweeted some stuff that might be further. But in any way, does anybody think this is bad news?
It was before they rescinded the artifact.
So originally, there was talk about how the artifact power would be a thing. So basically, that dude who farmed and got to 1,000 last season,
Yeah.
As they
would
call
have
him,
just been a god.
Lost Sector Bounty Goblin.
Yeah.
It's a really,
So a
really
bunch of
good
people
name.
for the first week would just Lost Sector Bounty Goblin or whatever Brian just called it, and
That was
be
it.
gods in Trials, right? And so there's a concern. So they came out and said artifact power only in Trials and Iron Banner is not going to be a thing.
So I
Oh,
kind
it's
of,
so-
I
Iron
kind of
Bounty?
assumed that artifact
Bounty.
wasn't going to be enabled in Trials anyway.
We will be disabling the artifact for power-enabled PvP bracket Iron Banner and Trials until we can implement a power cap feature. This cap will allow us to weave artifact and power pursuit together while preventing on-bound power growth in PvP.
Yeah, so I kind of assumed the
looks
artifact wasn't going to be active in Trials.
I mean, it was originally planned. Like they were talking about it and tweeting other people saying yes, it will be.
Really?
So
Yeah.
here's what they said the day it was revealed. Power-enabled, old armor is back, uses connection-based and card state matchmaking.
That's good.
Cards are back, so you can glean that from the note. And there is a new Lighthouse. That was off the top of my head.
Is it a new lighthouse or is it the lighthouse from before?
I bet you it'll be new.
Maybe if
'Cause
you
we
get
built
there,
it.
you'll be able to tell us.
We
Brian.
built it or we relit the beacon to.
Yeah, we built it, Luke
we-
said, with our Fractaline donation.
Yeah, so I assume that we built something new that's
right.
going to be dope. I hope it's huge. I hope it's like as big as the tower somehow.
Yeah.
That'd be dope.
So
Do you think State 14 is going to move there?
I think. Well, no. Well, it's
He's got
well. You got to
bounties.
think about like how the lighthouse worked in D1 is that it wasn't a social space that you could go to all the time. Like if the lighthouse is the same as it was, you can only get there when you go flawless.
I think it will be.
If Saint is the vendor for Trials in D2, he'd have to be somewhere else, right? So people can get their bounties, their boons, their player cards, or all that such.
True.
you get in the tower.
He could be in
That's
both.
how it
But
works.
from him, so if he can't be in the lighthouse, if you can only get there by going flawless,
Could he be in both?
So
That'd be weird.
That would be
real
weird.
quick, I'm super excited about Trials. I think it's great. I've already been playing a ton of PvP. I'm ready to go flawless next season. What you guys are excited too, right?
Yeah, I
Travis,
am. I don't
I'm
know about
excited
Brian.
to go flawless one time and then never do it again because I will be a detriment to the teams. So I'll probably never get the flawless title.
title. Yeah.
So on that note, here's one concern I have. I worry that the season is going to be only focused on Trials, and I worry about what's going to be there for other players. Brian, I do see you have notes about that.
So it's worth noting that that Trials is not the seasonal content because it's free to all players. Trials is free. You don't have to buy the season pass to get it.
Interesting.
So season 10, season worthy has to be something else. It has to be other stuff that, what we've been having for the past few seasons. Now, I'm sure it's going to be on par with what Season of Dawn and Undying were because, not to skip ahead to talk about Director's Cut, but, they're talking about shaking up what seasons are and how how they affect the world. So it's going to be newer content that we're, kind of used to getting in seasons. So yeah, obviously they haven't revealed that stuff yet, but it being a season based around Trials, I don't think is going to be a thing.
So do you know that, or are you
don't
assuming?
know that? But they have said that Trials is free for everybody.
Yeah.
You can't make it free for everybody, but still have everybody pay $10.
So
Yeah.
Then there's just nothing.
Yeah.
Do you think the flawless title will be for Trials specifically, and there will be another title?
I think there will be another title, and I think the flawless title won't be tied to season 10. This is just me assuming it. Like we're gonna get 2 titles. Like this is a speculation.
If next season is nothing but Trials related things, that would be bad. I don't know how they would just bring.
I wouldn't mind. Personally.
Well, here's the thing, though. You got to think about the entirety of the player base, right?
Right.
And while we're PvP people, I fully recognize that mode is not for everybody. There are people like Brian who suck at PvP.
It's also
and
only available on the
prefer
weekend,
just playing
right?
PvE. Yeah,
It's only available on the weekend.
can-
So
Well,
that would mean
it's only available on the weekends. 2, they've already teased what's coming up story related wise with Osiris and Rasputin, and plus today today being is today Friday? Today's Friday. They put out that lore thing.
just read
about
before the show.
Osiris and Sagira.
And Rasputin.
And Rasputin, so it's there's more stuff coming with the season.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they will have more stuff in addition to Trials, just because Trials is weekend only. It does have a very specific niche audience, and I think Bungie's admitted in the past that it's a pretty small player base.
Did they confirm it as weekend only? Like it's
I
going,
assume.
yeah, well, that's the assumption. Because when is March 13th? Is March 13th a Friday?
It's a Friday, yeah.
Is it Friday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so we are happy about Trials. That's what we know about it. Some people are complaining that it's the old armor. Here's the thing about the old armor thing. It is the best armor they've ever designed.
It's true.
It's seriously my favorite armor in the entire
Yeah.
game. So that whole repackaging thing, it's so tired. They're going to do new stuff too.
There were those raid armors from the final year of Destiny when they added all the raids back.
Yeah.
Those were great too.
Yeah.
I will say that
So it's a free thing that's free to everybody, and they're bringing back old armor. Well, guess what? It's free.
it's free.
So
You're not paying for any of it.
Yeah, it's in the free base version of the
yeah,
game, so
so-
I don't know why that's an issue. There's going to be another season. I think it's because people are thinking, and they're concerned that PvP is only going to be the focus of the next season.
It's
That
not.
that would
It's
be like,
so not going to be that.
yeah. If that was the case, we'd run into
They already
another
said
season.
they already also said they're in the coming weeks we're going to learn more about season 10 and what it all has to offer.
Yeah,
So the other thing too is that ever since Trials, but even before they took away Trials of the 9, everybody was, and after everybody was just like, oh, just bring back Trials as it was in D1. That's
said
what we loved
that.
it. Exactly. So it's like now we're at a point
what I
where
wanted.
it's that. So, it's exactly
They
that.
did that.
So
It just
far,
took
like
2 extra years.
it just took them. Yeah. I imagine that they went through iterations of what Trials is, and they've tried to shake it up, tried to come up with something new, and tried all these different things, and then ultimately came down to Trials in D1 was the best, as it is. So it's like, we're going to cut our losses and just bite the bullet and release Trials as it was. That's what people loved. That's what we've come to the conclusion.
It's a very different sandbox, though.
It is, and they haven't revealed like all of the sandbox changes that are coming with season 10. So we'll
They
see.
talked about a few, actually, Brian. Why don't you talk about some of the stuff in Director's Cut 2020? Or I see you have the TWAB notes there. That's what I'm sort of referencing.
These SWAB notes.
And the
Actually,
sub- the
that's his.
subclass.
That's
These
his
are
own
my
notes.
these are
He
my
made
personal
for
notes, so
the
I don't
show.
forget to say things if I even look at them. But
Okay, well, let's talk about the subclasses specifically.
oh yeah, like the change. Well, they didn't specifically say. Well, I mean, they said what about the melees? They're changing one shot abilities to.
Yep.
They're nerfing them.
Being weaker, yeah.
They're still one shot, but they're nerfing them in terms of magnetism and tracking, which is very justified because seeing the
Sunbreaker track is ridiculous.
seeing the melee the
Warlock
hunter
melee. Warlocks have long been at a disadvantage in melee fights because it takes them slightly longer than Titans and Hunters to recover from making a melee attack. So next season, we're extending the Warlock's basic melee range by 1 meter. Wow.
That's a lot.
So a total of 5.5 meters. Warlocks will still melee slightly lower than other classes.
That's a large.
Isn't the Nova fix in here too?
Yeah, it is.
Are you talking
grenade
about
handheld
the handheld supernova?
What's that under? One shot?
Well, that's under one shot.
One shot
abilities, which is
abilities,
what I
there
was
we go.
talking
yeah,
about.
they're making the time you can hold it about 1 second less.
Good.
And taking the charge time takes longer.
Titan shoulder charge, targeting is
they're-
reduced
Yep.
because you can basically do a 90-degree turn. And people for Hunter, the weighted knife, thank you. is
They
being
needed that for sure.
reduced. It's high tracking significantly.
Well, have you seen? Have
Putting
you
it mildly.
Have you
Yeah,
seen
it's
some of these
ridiculous.
videos? It reminds me of the old days in like the memes of Modern Warfare 2, where somebody tossing a
And they would
knife,
go around the
and
corner.
it's just like
all the
thinking on the
clips.
floor, and then it hits somebody in the foot, and then they just fall over dead, and you're just like, that's not okay.
Yeah.
As for the Warlock's handheld Supernova, we've made a number of changes to bring this ability in line with the other one-shot abilities. Well,
Yeah, even though they are still reliant on an exotic slot being taken up, and the other classes are
They
not.
can also kill multiple people with it, though.
They can. True.
Especially since they're narrowing the range.
Are you
It's
guys
not gonna
defending handheld Supernova?
No,
It
I'm
has
saying
to
it's-
go.
I'm saying it's kind of OP.
What I'm saying is that Warlocks to have a one-shot melee have to rely on exotic when the other classes do not. I'm not. The nerfs
But
are
it's
fine
such
because
a better one
yeah,
shot.
the
dude.
nerf is fine because obviously it's going to cause a lot of problems.
Here's specifically how it's changing. Sorry, Brian.
Yeah, no, go ahead. No, I'm finished.
Okay. Our data indicated that even without Controverse Hold, handheld Supernova needed to be adjusted. Yeah, it did. Increased activation time by 0.6 seconds. So you got to do that charge
The
longer.
charge takes longer. The time you can hold it.
Reduced hold time from 3.5 to 2.5. Reduced range by 20%. Tighten horizontal spread of bolts by 25%. Bolt explosion now does self-damage. Good. Reduce bolt explosion radius from 3 meters to 2.5 meters. So to me,
But that means that since the bolts are closer together, they actually do more damage in a smaller spot.
they could also damage you. So to me, this is more of a gamble play. If you want to hop in and potentially suicide to get 1 kill or 2 kill, you're going to result more often in a draw or something like that.
I think some of the nerfs, the nerfs to the one-shot abilities are justified, but personally, I would like to see that the Warlocks get their own, one-shot melee ability that isn't reliant on an exotic piece. Personally.
Any other adjustments you want to note on, Brian? Because I see you have subclass tuning on there. I just want to make sure Brian's
The subclass
notes are
tuning.
correct.
Well, the subclass tuning. They're talking about the 3 passes: Stormcaller top, Striker bottom, and Arcstrider bottom are being brought down because they're the top performing, super dominant. Which kind of sucks in a way because they feel good, they feel fun, and they don't feel like they break the game.
Guess I'm going void.
Yeah, so I mean they are tuning some void paths. They're not talking about what they're doing yet, but it just sucks to see when things are feeling fun and they feel effective, but they don't feel broken, being nerfed.
Yeah.
It's like I don't feel like any of those classes don't feel broken to me.
Yeah.
And
Well, I mean, for me as a hunter, that gives me 2 options, right? Sorry, Brian, I cut you off again.
No, yeah, I'm just saying that like it just like I'm sure they're afraid of power creep, but if they tuned all of these abilities at the same time to feel this, not the same, but feel like they're as effective and as fun without being broken, that's what they need to do rather than just taking them down so that way they feel in line with the rest of them. It's like, well, now they're just not going to feel as fun or as effective rather than
I feel
the
like-
other one's feeling better too.
Am I the only one who feels like all of the supers in D2 are weaker than D1?
Tickle
I wouldn't
fingers
agree
for
with
sure.
What's that?
I would not agree with that.
Really?
I've seen people use tickle fingers in PvP.
Yeah.
to do
Well,
pretty
that one's pretty strong right now in PvP.
Blade Barrage is a free shutdown for an alt super. Usually you have to get close-ish to shut down like a Nova Warp or something. And I think you still have options.
I'm thinking
I've been a hunter main now for like a whole season, so I have to think about my options. If they're nerfing my favorite Arcstrider class, then I'm like, well, okay, I can still go Blade Barrage and shut it down because I actually don't like the other solar subclasses. I didn't like the weighted knife subclass. I just couldn't get used to the feel of it, and now they're nerfing it. It's like that's not going to be a thing for very long.
Right. Yeah, I guess what I remember from D1 is that you had way more damage resistance while using your
Well, yeah,
super.
they've
I think that's true.
definitely tweaked that for
I remember
sure.
as a Titan in the Striker class just running around and every smash being a one-hit kill, which is not the case anymore. I don't know. I kind of feel like they're generally the supers are weaker in D2.
One thing in the Trials reveal that I noticed on your point is that somebody got hit with a Dawn Blade and did not die.
That's not okay.
They had to get hit again.
That's not okay.
It was a 2-hit with Dawn Blade. And
That's not cool. Especially since that's
The
that's-
golden gun is a one-hit kill.
I think
for
what they
sure.
were trying to show was that power is enabled, and the damage numbers were all over the place. But there's no way those are accurate.
If power is enabled, and that was the case of it, and like if that person was like 30 light above, then sure, if you're going in 30 light under what like the most people are at in trials, and that's on you
Yeah.
for going there. So if you're with, that's the whole point of the power enable,
Right.
and you should know that.
Let's talk about the whole power enabled thing. That totally would have been a mess, right?
Absolutely. Well, like
think
we
it
said,
still
the
might.
lost sector bounty goblins going
Yeah.
in and coming out, and like, just being 1,050 light going into it, and they're just like tyranny against all the other people who are actually skilled, but they can't kill them because time to kill is low.
Might it still be a little
Or-
odd though because of the soft cap and the hard cap? That's really hard because you guys have talked about how the fact that you have no incentive to get to the actual cap anymore.
Right.
Is this now enough to get you guys there? And do you think that the people who log on and they get those tier 1 or whatever it is, powerful engrams, are those people going to have like a huge advantage? The people who get those?
Well, I think that's the point. But yes, in a certain case, but that's the point, right? It's like you're going to have that advantage if you're putting the time in to get pinnacle weapons to get to max light. Then yeah, you should have the advantage if you're going against an opponent who doesn't want to put the time in to get that power advantage.
But it's only 10. so
Yeah, it's only
probably
10,
not.
and it's probably not going to be much, but still something.
But it might be the edge. Yeah.
What's your note about sticky trip mines there?
They sticky again.
They're sticky again.
Yeah.
On people? Like they stick to other guardians?
They didn't
Yeah.
clarify, but
They didn't
assume
clarify,
that
but
that's
I
what they
imagine
mean,
it
yeah.
is. And my note is that
I hate it when they took that away. That's great.
yeah, they took it
Yeah.
away. So I just hope that they're not one hit kill, or if they are, they have some other sticky grenades from other classes that need some love too, that are very weak in comparison.
Yeah. There's no good Titan grenades. No, the one that takes your
Yeah,
super.
and then
away.
the Warlock fusion grenade that is sticky doesn't do a lot of damage if you stick
Yeah,
it.
All right.
that's true.
So that was my note on that.
Yeah.
So if they're one hit kill, it's like, well, you have some other sticky grenades that are weaker in comparison to
Yeah.
that.
I don't
But they
think
don't-
they're
they
one
didn't-
hit. They're
they-
probably not one hit. They're
Yeah, they
probably
didn't go
like
into
current
details.
fusion grenades.
Yeah,
like Warlock.
Still a good
in the
feature, though.
TWAB, they just said, "Oh yeah," and the grenades are sticky again.
Good.
And that's all they said. They didn't say like they're adjusting power or anything like that. So I imagine they're not, but they
All
could
right.
go into more detail later.
We got 20 minutes left in this room,
Do we?
and there's an elephant in the room,
The director's cut.
the director's cut.
Woo-wee.
There is
Yeah.
one major megaton that has the internet on fire. Legendary guns being retired. Here's the TLDR. Legendary guns will stop being able to be powered up, basically. So they won't be viable.
They'll cap at a certain,
They'll cap at a
9 to
certain
15
point.
months.
or they.
Here's
might,
my thing about it. Sorry, Brian.
I would say it's like they'll cap that, or they also have the ability to take away certain perks. So that's going to be interesting.
What do you mean by that?
Like just retire. They can retire guns or perks.
Interesting. So if you had a
If
gun,
Recluse has a crazy perk, they could just retire.
They can retire.
Like, all right, you've had your fun.
so unique perks.
So like if one day they're like,
Makes
yeah, if they're
sense.
like multi-kill clip, we're done with that for now. They could retire it.
I was a little salty about this at first, but here's the compromise that I think would be really, really good. First of all, Bungie, if you look back at Destiny 1, which is what you're trying to implement, everybody held on to that stuff anyway. I still have I held my black hammer. I never deleted it. I held
Well, they
my
didn't have a
Fatebringer.
collection.
I never deleted
They
it.
didn't have a collections back then.
Exactly. So if you're going to implement this change, please, for the love of God, let me take my comic book, put it in my comic book collection, and then put it in my closet
Yep.
so that I know it's there and that I feel safe inside and happy with the
Yeah.
decisions that I've made in the world of Destiny.
if
If you just straight up make me have to delete it, I'm not going to delete it. That's
Yeah.
how your players play the game. We're not going to get rid of stuff we spent 1,000 hours collecting. You have to let
is
us
true.
archive it in some special way.
Yeah, because then they're gonna start creating an even bigger vault problem. So I know I give you crap a lot about having a vault storage space, but like it's gonna create that problem, right? Like if you're gonna retire a weapon or its weapon perks, you're gonna effectively make that weapon useless.
I
and
think
I'm not gonna delete it because they said that they can bring weapons back or bring perks back if after that 9 or 15 months you were just saying. I'm not gonna delete that weapon, because the current collection system doesn't let me pull my rollback. But if you let me store a specific roll in the collection so I can pull it out later, then we don't have a problem.
Yeah, and they didn't even really say they're retiring them, right? They just said that they're going to have a max infusion level,
And that's
which is
my
an
problem
essential
with it.
retirement. But you can still pull those weapons
for
out
sure.
and use them in PvP where a light level doesn't matter, stuff like that. It'll still be in the game, right?
Yeah, and I still have like launch armor that I won't delete because I have like the full Iron Banner set that's maxed out. It's got it's masterworked, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to delete that.
Yeah.
Like I still want to have that thing that I acquired.
Yeah,
So you have to just seriously, if you don't give players a safe place, why don't you want us to feel safe, Bungie? Why don't you want us to feel happy and safe and yummy inside? so that like we had all that time. We can put that in our collection. We can check it off of our check mark box. We can connect our 4s. I don't know, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Let me put it away in my safe place where all my old memories go and cherish. But don't give me the option to hold it or delete it. If you give me the option to hold it, I'm going to hold it, and I'm going to stress about my vault space.
Right. And I think on the other end too of this is like, this is a way for them to get you to use new weapons.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's Bungie's responsibility to make new weapons that entice me to want to use them in place of my old ones.
Yeah.
Taking them away to force me to use new weapons isn't an effective like route to take, because it's like I don't want to use less interesting weapons because you want me to. That's like 1,000% against that play your way model that they've been talking about pre-Shadowkeep. And it even goes against the paragraph in Director's Cut where you're just talking about aspiration and giving you reasons to want to play. And it's like, well, telling me you're going to take my gun away one time is not going to give me any sort of aspiration to chase these things.
Again, they're not retiring it; they're just making a power cap. So
yeah,
the way I think that'll work is
like
quick play and Trials will have completely different metas, because one will have power enabled and the other one's just going to be the Wild West. So I think you'll still see Telesto, which is probably on the hit list of like getting retired and stuff.
But
like
it still doesn't negate the fact that it's going against a play your way model. That's 100% them saying we want you to play our way,
just for endgame content.
Yes, even no matter what version of the game or mode or activity you're doing, it's still them saying you're going to be playing this way because that's what we said, even though we've told you we want you to play your way.
Yeah, it does suck to have certain things. Like I know, 1,000 Voices is probably going to be on the list of like retired weapons.
Well, they said they're not. They said they're not doing the exotics.
Yeah, not exotic. So your exotics are fine.
So Telesto's gonna.
Well, Telesto will live forever. Like they'll say that Telesto's not returning in D3, and somehow it'll bug itself into the game. Yeah, so it's fine. We don't have to worry about that gun
How did
at all.
that happen?
Like, what? Who did this?
CJ.
Yeah. By the way, CJ, thank you for Trials. We know it was you and you alone, and nobody helped you in any way.
It was worth
really
losing you on the show just so we could have Trials back.
Yeah, that's what happened. That's where CJ went. He went to the Lighthouse to build Trials for everybody.
That's right.
Afterwards, Brian, any other? So I think the legendary gun thing. And if you think this isn't going to be a problem, go boot up Destiny 1 and take a look in your vault.
Yeah.
Because that is exactly what they did in Destiny 1. And when I boot up Destiny 1 and look at my vault, guess what? I have about 50 things in the Postmaster. And my vault is full. And yeah.
If you want to make a trading card game analogy, put trading in the game.
Put what?
Trading.
Yeah.
Like Luke Smith went on a whole 2 paragraphs about like making an analogy to Magic the Gathering. And it's like, well, if you're gonna make the analogy of a trading card game, let me trade.
I think trading would break Destiny. Have you ever played Borderlands?
It won't break.
I played Division.
Borderlands, but the thing is,
if you do an activity with other players in Division, you're allowed to say, "Hey, I got this drop.
Yeah.
I don't need it. Would you like it?"
Yeah, you can.
So
but,
like,
and you have
that's different, though.
You have a turnaround. You have a.
Because they have to do the activity with you, right?
They have to do the activity with you.
They can't do it alone and then give you the.
Yeah, and then you have 20 hours or something like that to do the trade, and then it's like the same way in Diablo. It's like, and then once the time window is gone, it's locked to your account, and you can't trade it.
I think that's a good.
In Magic,
a good method.
In order to trade with somebody, you gotta meet them and make an agreement to trade. So
yeah,
or at least
and with Borderlands,
this guy hasn't heard of the internet yet. He's never run on eBay.
In Borderlands, it was broken because you can drop as many weapons as you want, hard quit the game, and then come back and you still have that in your inventory, and then everybody else can just pick up all of those weapons. But since Destiny works on a server base,
I think that if you can get a weapon from somebody who's completed an event like Trials or a raid without doing the event yourself, that's a problem. I think if you do the event with them and you don't get the drop and then they give it to you, that's totally fine. That's just them.
I don't see the harm in like you doing a raid, 1,000 voices drops for you, and you don't have that weapon. And then you're like, you know what? I'm feeling nice today. I want you to have this gun. Takes it out of your inventory, and now they have it.
Yeah, I think that's fine. If they do the event with you.
Yeah, if they've done the event with you. Because the RNG is still there.
I think that's a good compromise. I've generally kind of just been against trading just because it kind of...
I don't imagine... Yeah, I don't... Like, obviously, you're right. It would break the game if I had 1,000 voices, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to print up 3 copies of this and give it to everybody in the tower. And of course not. Don't do that.
Or even if they didn't do that, I mean, people would be like selling copies of God Rolls of weapons online. There would be a whole bunch of...
And I think that's how Division handles that. It's like they have to do the activity with you, and you have to.
I think it's a good
you have
compromise.
to get the drop in the activity. You can't just
So I haven't
them
played the
one.
Division in a long time.
Do you know how many times I had to run to get Anarchy
Ooh boy.
with people? And then
Apparently
the
Luke
person who
Smith
had
doesn't
it-
have it.
Yeah, and then well
Isn't that
now
crazy?
the drop rate's increased, so you can just do it on all 3 characters.
Apparently he still doesn't have it though.
But like,
Luke Smith.
Oh yeah.
He said it in the post.
I'm surprised
So-
he just code himself to have
so
it.
as much as I've heard about the trading thing, though, it's fine in Division, whatever. But thinking about D2, I wonder if something would be detracted from the loot game if you were able to just say, here you go. Like people would just have exotics much faster.
And God rolls.
Would they have it much faster though? Because like it,
Well, think
it,
about
it
it.
requires you to get that drop again, right?
It's 3 chances a week versus if you're running with a team of 5,
It's like
and
18
they all
chances a
have
week,
it.
yeah.
It just exponentially, well, not exponentially, but it drastically increases your chances of getting.
maybe
that
they
weapon.
disable exotic trading. I don't know. There's ways. There's
But
ways
even
to
then,
implement it.
there's God rolls. You could do you could do the farm of spare rations, and then
Yeah,
only
like-
one of you has to get it. And
Right.
you know what I mean,
Yeah.
if you have good friends you're playing with.
Some other notes.
Anyway.
I don't know if you had anything on that one, Brian. Did you?
Which
We were on weapon trading. Or
Oh, no.
sorry,
I didn't mean to spark a conversation about weapon trading. I was
no,
just
we
gonna say-
absolutely had to talk about it. That's a
Yeah.
huge thing.
I was
this
gonna
episode.
just say that line and then walk away with it. I don't think trading is ever gonna be in Destiny.
I didn't mean trading. I just meant the weapon retiring.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That we were discussing. So a few other just quick notes. Faction rallies are not returning, but some weapons and armor are. So is the armor. Okay. Some weapons are, and so is the armor.
Yeah.
That's fine. They said like nobody really did faction rallies.
Honestly, like I'm not upset that faction rallies are gone, but like I think they need to take a playbook out of what they did with Trials, right? All right, we realized that Trials in Destiny 1 was at its apex. Here it is
Yeah.
again. Do that with factions. Like
Yeah.
When were factions ever
And
at
again,
their
this is
apex,
free
though?
content we're discussing.
no, but I mean like I'm talking about from Destiny 1. You could pledge to a faction weekly.
You get
and-
an exotic piece of gear.
That part was cool. I missed my exotic mark.
and they were just vendors, and you ranked them up weekly.
Yep.
Just by doing any activity in the game.
And the vendors are still there.
The vendors are still there. Like, just give them bounties, put them back on a rotational vendor or weekly vendor thing, and then just rank them up like you did in Destiny 1.
Can't buy Bright Engrams anymore. New Light experience is changing for the better. Apparently, it was pretty overwhelming for new players. I know that feel. The quest log is getting categorization.
Yeah.
That's great. Like your exotics are going to have a spot, and your regular bounties are going to have a spot. It's definitely a little confusing. And
Yeah.
that's really all I had for main notes and talking points. Brian,
Yeah.
what did you want to bring up today?
I want to bring up injecting seasonal themes into core activities.
So rather than doing the one and done,
The one and done.
This is where
which
he
is
was
fun.
talking
Yeah,
about the
yeah.
FOMO element.
Which I'm glad they were like directly calling out FOMO. I don't think Bungie had used those terms since this, up until this point of the director's cut. But he talks about like instead of just using like 6-player match-made activities or just one and done events, like they want to inject seasonal themes into the core activities, Crucible, Gambit, Strikes,
Smart.
patrol
like that.
spaces, and things like
Smart-
that, which is
smart
great.
strategy.
Next season, it's happening, right?
Probably
Probably
not.
not. I think he's directly talking about year 4.
I
I
think
think they're
it's-
talking about year 4. I think they're planning it out for the rest of the year.
I think you're right, and I also I think a good reference point was when that year, the Dawning, you could bring the snowballs into Strikes. Do you remember that? And the whole Strike game was changed, where there were like the snowballs everywhere, and you had that thing that tracked how many kills
You
got
could
with it.
even like I think it was only over Warlocks, but they could play the game in third person because of the snowballs.
Yeah.
If they activated their Stormcaller super at the exact moment, at a certain moment before picking up the
Oh,
snowball,
that's awesome.
you would be forever in third person. But
Yeah, you can do that in D2. You can like activate your super, switch a weapon, and then you stay in first person. That's how I did some shots for like a.
So
video
there might be new mechanics in the old Strikes, or new enemy types if they're introducing like a new mob faction or something like that.
What I wanted to call
I
out
like that.
specifically from the injecting seasonal themes into core activities is especially Strikes, is like Strikes haven't been in a great place since Destiny 1.
Yeah.
And I'm wary that when he talks about injecting seasonal themes into the core activities, and especially in Strikes, there's like, oh yeah, here's like a new weapon at the end of the strike, or here's a couple different enemies at the end of the strike. It's like, we kind of just also need more
Well, I
new
think
strikes. And that just like, just putting new enemies in the strikes isn't just an effective way, or even reprising them.
That's a tough one, Brian, because you got to
It's
think
tough,
about it.
for sure.
They hit a saturation point. Like, how many strikes are there currently in the game?
Yeah.
20.
Yeah.
some.
But they
crazy
but they
thing
grow.
I think that might be
But
high.
like that's an activity that just like
I'm gonna look it up.
That activity kind of just grows stale when you're just doing those same strikes over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So it's just like just adding new guns and maybe like a different enemy faction into there isn't enough to breathe new life into me doing that same activity over and over and over again.
What was different about D1? Because my recollection of D1 is exactly that it was
It kind of
doing the same thing over and over again.
Like
but I did it anyway because they had the 3
because they had the
points.
skeleton keys where you could go.
Yeah, that too.
At the end of the life in Destiny.
I think
1.
Wikipedia's count is at 17.
17 strikes.
Might be
strikes.
more.
But
Higher than I
I
would have
felt
thought.
like-
I feel like I
like-
played the same 4 over and over.
And this
Yeah.
could be me like
Pyramidian,
Pyramidian, dude, that one. Oh my god.
This could be
Garden
me-
World.
Oh yeah,
Garden
Garden.
World
It could be me
a lot.
looking through rose-tinted glasses or nostalgia hitting me, but like I feel like strikes were released at a.
They were more regular.
They were
I feel like
more
you're right,
regular
yeah.
with expansions. I know that with Shadowkeep we got like 1 or 2, and maybe with Forsaken we got like 2 or 3.
Broodhold.
But yeah, I would still like to see more of that coming because it's also just a great opportunity to introduce more lore into the game without having to add crazy cutscenes or things like that.
Yeah, I think they just mean like opportunities to build weapons and such.
Yeah.
Like you do specific strike 14, number 14, and you get your recipe. You put it in your easy bake oven, and out pops an avalanche. Something like that.
Does
I think
anybody
that-
else also think it's weird that we still do strikes where Kate is alive?
A little bit.
Yeah,
A
well,
little bit.
It kind of throws me off. I'm like, oh yeah, he was in the game. I forgot.
The thing
That's
is,
so
like
long ago.
strikes are supposed to be self-contained. They're not like
yeah.
they're not supposed to be like things that are happening all the time, like within the world, like chronologically. He unplugged that. We're not even using
Leave it alone.
Okay.
Just leave it alone.
We're not even using the
that
laptop,
is more likely to screw something up if you start plugging stuff in and out.
and it's ruining our feed.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Uh-oh.
it's fine. Nothing happened.
Thanks a lot, Travis.
Wow, we have to start the show
This
over.
episode was brought to you by Travis Northup, who broke it.
Fireteam chat is canceled.
Yeah. No, but I mean, like, you remember when Ikora used to have daily bounties and it was like you were meditating or whatever? So, like,
I thought that was cool.
looking back and trying to relive those experiences. I actually like that sort of narrative explanation.
Yeah, I'm sure. I
a
don't
lot.
know why they had to take those away.
I guess it,
Like they took away her. She had bounties, right?
she did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Bounties and
feel
armor. I don't
like
know why
I
they
feel
needed
like
to-
they.
Nobody did them.
I feel like one of the
Yeah.
problems
Well,
that
the
You would get
mission.
your armor set, and then why would you do them again?
Yeah, you're right.
I feel like one of the problems they're thinking about that maybe we don't is like how many activities they're giving the. Every time they add an activity, they break up the player base
Yeah,
a little bit
for sure.
more, and
That's
I think
why,
they're
yeah.
trying to focus everything in.
That's right. I mean, they've said like Destiny can't grow. Destiny 2 can't grow forever.
Yep.
So
Unfortunately.
Yeah. That's all we had for this episode. Let us know what you thought about all of the news today in the comments below. Trials is back. We have this weapon gun shelf thing that was discussed. Luke Smith's thing is very robust. He goes over a ton of philosophies and ideas that's going on at Bungie. And taking a stance on this one, I think Bungie's doing a lot of good stuff right now. And I think the artifact thing needed to happen. And I think there might potentially be some misconceptions because some community members are really mad
about what?
about like
They
legendary
wanted
Gelfs.
the artifact thing.
They wanted the
Yeah.
artifact power, and I'm just like, yeah, I'd rather just have a really solid experience personally.
Me too.
Yeah.
So
I think power level should.
it's one where we're
matter.
gonna agree to disagree.
Yeah, but like
Power level should matter, but also
To a
it
point.
shouldn't reward mindless grinding over skill.
And
So
exploits.
think about
Yeah.
this though. Like this does incentivize you to run the raid for those power bumps and get those pinnacle drops to get
Yeah, this is the first
past
time
the
I
cap.
feel like I'm gonna try to get to max power. The actual max.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it has passive benefits also for
Yeah.
the trials thing. So anyway, those are my thoughts on it. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. That's it for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, everybody, Guardians out.